Hi, she's Trixie and I'm Sarah, and this is our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of yarn crafts and all that it gives us and what we hope it gives you. We're on episode 120 today, ending on a good even number for the end of the year. Start at end of 2023, heading into 2024, and we have a lot to share with you today.
Yeah. I am still working on this mandala blanket, and it's so pretty. I'm the last ball that I have of yarn, but I'm just going to show you from the beginning. Now I'm working on this with a 5mm hook and a half double crochet stitch, and I started out with a really small ball of just this light blue, and then I went in to the new skein, and that started this greens and the teals. Look at that blue. And the browns, white, and the sea foam. Oh my gosh, I love this color. And then it went into the grays and the blacks. And then when I started the new skein, it started with this cream into the white, the light pink, the dark pink, and now I'm into like a sandy brown. And I'm not sure what comes next, but that's where we're at, how much I have left. And when this ball's done, this blanket is done. And so it is just turning out so beautiful. Anybody who sees me working on it always comments on how pretty the colors are together. And I just keep telling them mandalas. Mandalas are the way to go if you want long strands of color that just mutate into the next one, into the next one, into the next one. It's not a variegade because variegades are very short strands. This is longer, thought out strands of yarn, and I just wanted to go back to the gray and the black and show you even just how thought out it is. I mean, look at, went from the lights to the mediums, to the dark, to the medium, to the light again. And it's a very thought out process. And it makes your blankets very, very cohesive and nice to work and fun to see the new colors come in. And you have long enough strands to get used to it and then go into your next color. It's very, very fun that way. So that's what I'm working on, and we'll probably be working on through the rest of this week. So probably quite close to the new year. And the lady that I'm giving it to has no idea that I'm giving it to her. And she will be quite surprised, and I'm hoping she loves all the colors in this. It's something that I find really fun to do, is just to surprise people with the blankets that I make. So I never really know who they're going to until I get an inkling, and then I was just at church that day, and it was just like, yeah, it's her. That's the one. So every time I think about that now, I think, yeah, it's going to be so fun to give this to her, because she just has no idea it's coming. So, what are you working on?
I am working on another amigurumi. Go figure. So one train of thought I don't want to forget about before I finish what I'm talking about regarding this project is that with mandalas, with these natural ombre yarns, or even so, like this one's much more of a cohesive ombre, meaning that it flows into the next color quite seamlessly. There are other types of yarns that are called, and I don't know if this is just the Red Heart brand, but they call it stripes, which is kind of like a mandala version of what Lion Brand does, but it's not the variegated where the color changes are quick. It's long strands of a color and then it goes into the next color
Yeah.
quite abruptly.
Yeah.
It's very abrupt, but the volume of yarn you get in just that one color is still quite significant before it goes into the next color change.
Right.
And it's not necessarily an ombre where it's gradual. It's quite abrupt, but they all the colors complement each other.
Yeah.
And they normally call this one stripes. And I bring it up because for my Christmas gift I haven't been able to give yet, with the people that used to live with us, I taught both the mom and the daughter how to crochet, and the kid I haven't been able to see yet, and I got her a Red Heart stripes yarn.
Ooh.
That is, it looks like pure unicorn. I didn't bring it. I thought about bringing it. But it's like when you start introducing people into yarn crafting, sometimes one of the perfect gifts is finding a yarn you know that they're going to like that will inspire them.
Yeah.
And it inspires this idea of, I love to be put in a position where I have the materials supplied for me. And so when people gift me yarn, then I just sit and start crafting because I have the material now to do it.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed that. But when I'm with people, young crafters, or a new, very in the beginning of this tradition of crafting yarn, when they are just able to do very two-dimensional projects like blankets or crafting or wearables, and not necessarily working in complicated styles yet, having yarn that transitions, that isn't too dark, that's still bright, can be very fun, because obviously it kind of encourages this idea of, I want to see what happens next.
Yeah.
It can be a simple single crochet along a row and just back and forth and making a scarf or something, or a tea towel or whatever, but all of a sudden it looks so much more because the yarn is
Working together.
when you have a yarn that is so colorful,
Yeah.
it kind of replaces the simplest pattern with a much more vibrant finished product on its own, just because you're letting the yarn kind of do its own thing. So I don't know, I just am excited to give it to her. I can't wait for her to see what she does, what it inspires her to do.
Gonna be so fun.
Yeah, and when I was at Joann's, in the clearance aisle, there was also kind of like this, it was either a keychain or jewelry kit, where it was end up being in clearance, but it was like a kid's kit, and it was one of those, kids obviously need their parents for this, because there's like these meltable beads that if you put them in the frames that are in there, they can melt in the oven, and you can make really cool finished products of like, it's like these metal frames of like unicorn or whatever, and they're obviously empty of their color, but you place them on a tray with wax paper, and you put the beads where you want it to melt, and then it will melt into the frames, and it will stop within the space that you put the beads in, and it will create like the finished product for you.
So
in the
fun.
oven. So I have that for her, but I might save that for her birthday.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
separate these two gifts and then just add to the gift bags separately in their own
Right.
way. So yeah.
That's
so
fun.
yeah, so it's fun when you have a craft store that you really love, that you're excited to kind of nurture the new crafting and these friends that would have never gotten into it in the same way unless they were around you.
Yeah.
It's just fun. Not tooting my own horn, just much more of like, it's fun to be able to share this sort of craft.
Yeah.
And then when they're excited about it, you're just like, yes, I found my people.
Yeah. Or giving is fun. It really is.
It is.
Like, I'm going to give this blanket, and she's giving, the inspiration. Mm-hmm. It's just fun.
So, with that being said, last week I was showing off kind of discreetly in the video due to the fact that my son was just within eye view. Christmas gifts I had made over the course of the last 2-ish weeks up until Christmas.
Right.
And I don't have all of them with me. I know I said I would, but my kids did not want to give up all their gifts that they just got a couple of days ago. And my daughter was willing to give up one of them. My son wasn't willing to give up any of them.
And he hid them from her.
That I understand. He didn't go to, he's napping right now. My husband's home, and he told me not to take them. He told me that he might be willing to let us see them next week. But he didn't even take him to bed with him, and so I'm kind of like eyeing the room, like, where are they? And then I'm lying in the living room, and I'm like, I don't even know where they are. And I was like, you know what? He's already dictated that they're off limits in some way. He and his little 3-year-old brain were like, no. So that's been navigated. I'm just like, okay, respect the boundary. I was going to show off both of Olivia's gifts, my daughter. But to be fair, so I was making her the Princess Mermaid, which I have, but I was also making a fairy, and I didn't actually finish it. I am finishing it with her so that she can help me figure out how she wants the wings and how she wants
That'd be fun.
So I have the framing of the wings done, and I have like the body done and all that, but there are certain details that she gets to be a part of the finished product with before she gets it.
Nice.
And I figured it was already going on like 2 o'clock on Christmas morning, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. on the actual Christmas day, and I was like, I need to be able to sleep, to be able to wake up, to be able to do Christmas with them.
Right.
This is going to not be good if I don't do that. So I just relented the fact that that project could be finished with her.
Right.
And she liked that idea. So, but I couldn't find it. So I know that I'll find it before she has to go back, and we'll finish back to school, and we'll finish it together.
Okay.
But with that being said, this is how her mermaid turned out, because I have no chill, and I sectioned out a very specific section of her head, and I was like, every square inch is gonna get hair. And
that is so cool.
I asked Olivia when I gave it to her, I was like, did mommy put too much hair on it? She's like, yes, I like it though. So she's like, we're not changing it, Mom. This is okay. And so she said I didn't make her a crown yet, so I have to finish some details for it. But she said, I like her, Mom. And Olivia's been playing with so many of her other toys, but the one thing I'll say about where this one is in her assortment of toys on her bed is it's the one laying right next to her. She's been playing with a bunny with a Christmas hat on that she got sent from her grandpa down in Florida, and she named it Mrs. Brown. And
Well, that's cool.
And that bunny has been in the crook of her arm since she got it out of the box. And I will say that is probably one of the cutest things. Like, I am not one of the parents that's like, I spent hours on this, and I know this doll will get her use when she's back in her unicorn and her mermaid fix. I am nowhere near in this need to require them paying attention to it right away, because they are inundated with so many toys all at once. They don't know how long I worked on it, and it's not that big of a deal to me. But it's one of those, like, she's like, this is Mrs. Brown. And I was like, okay.
So cute.
And she's just like, yeah, this is Mrs. Brown, and Mrs. Brown is my friend. And I'm like, okay. Like, it's great. It's good feelings. I love seeing them happy that they got gifts that speak to them, that are
They're
going to
using
be,
their imagination.
yes, and it works. And so I think part of some of the things with this is, like, she didn't have a crown.
Yeah.
She was supposed to have a crown, so
Well, she will.
she will.
But
yeah.
I love the hair.
Yeah, and she's just so much fun Yeah, the hair is just... I will say, I did have a moment where I was almost in tears. Right near the end, you can see some of the strands did not get the sparkle because I ran out and I was trying to just keep going. And I was just like, you know what? Some of these I might have to go back in and just sew sparkle in with my thread that I was using. Ran out of black, and I was doing things in rows of black to color, and so I was like, yeah. So I ran out of black, and so I wasn't able to do it, and so I had to stop regardless. And then when I went to go get more of the hollow shimmer thread that I was crocheting alongside with the actual yarn, I had it in a kind of like a silver hollow shimmer, and they only had gold hollow shimmer when I went. So it doesn't matter, but it's one of those small details with me where it's like I wanted it to be the same all the way through, but it doesn't matter either way. And I'm just like trying not to, and I end up not even going back on those threads, on those strands, because it was one of those things where it's like, it was the home stretch to getting things done, and I was just like, I don't think
it's going to matter too much.
No, it really doesn't. It's okay, but it's one of those, like, it was one of those home stretches, and I was like, I don't want to see dawn.
Right.
Reaching over the horizon. Like, I need to be able to relax and enjoy. So yeah, that's how she turned out, and you will see the other gifts in their entirety as they are relinquished and or finished. But I figured, yes, my daughter did say that this dear doll was allowed to be shown off.
I like it. I wonder what she's going to name her.
She told me, and I don't remember.
Oh, it's so cute.
So I'm sorry. But with that being said, the project I'm working on as of right now is a request from my son. So I made, if you did not see my videos coming to today, with my countdown to Christmas, I've been working on Mario themed toys. So I made a Mario, I made a Luigi, I made a Toad, and my son opened up all the gifts, got the movie on top of it, and was like, where's Bowser? Where's Goomba? Where's the Koopa Trooper? Where's the Boo? And I'm like, coming right up. I was just like, and my husband is, I was just like, Daniel, you should be happy with what you got. And he's like, no, I am. Mommy, I love these. But they need Bowser. They need him. Bowser needs his minions. He needs his army. And he's just like going on. And then later he comes up to me, he's like, where's Peach? Where's Princess Peach? I need Peach too. And I'm sitting there being like, do you want Peach in her tracksuit or do you want Peach in her dress? He's like, Peach has a dress. It's pink. Didn't you know? And I'm just like, mm-hmm.
Yes,
yep.
sir.
Now here's the thing. My son's birthday is in the first half of January. So, yeah. If you at all have either are a new subscriber, have been around long enough, or have been here since the beginning at all, you'll know that 3 years ago when we started this channel, I did a countdown to Christmas in a completely different, insane way than what I did this year. Last couple of years, I've just been doing intense countdowns. The only one I didn't do, I feel, was like 2021 because life was so crazy at that point. But I wasn't even able to do it because I didn't really have a crafting section that was available to me. But here's the thing. When we first started this channel, I was working on a Mario, and I was working on a Bowser, and I was working on a fish shark hat that was eating a head when it was put on. Because that was my gifts to my nephews.
Yep.
And that Mario pattern from Linda Potts, free on Ravelry, is the same one I used for Daniel. And Linda Potts ended up having one for Luigi, free on Ravelry. And I was like, thank you. to this woman who I'll never meet. Toad had to come out of my head. I had to make him on the spot. Now, luckily, I was able to 3D print him, make it work with the yarn, figure it out. I left it as it was. Any mistakes, I guess you got it with what it is. I am so grateful to some of these creators who are sitting here on Ravelry that just give their patterns for free.
Yeah.
This other lady, Shelly Hedko, I think is how you say her last name, has a free Bowser pattern that I used 3 years ago for my nephew. And I found it again because I was so nervous. At first I thought that she had possibly changed it to being paid. But lo and behold, Christmas miracle, end of the year miracle, birthday miracle, whatever you want to call it, she is just as free as she was 3 years ago, and I'm working on it right now. I have been working. I know this doesn't look like much, but here's the thing. This pattern has like 50 pieces. And there's a reason it's free. And I don't mean that rudely, but when you get to the end of the pattern, if I remember correctly, she might have gone back and done a little bit more. But last time, there was no assembly.
Yeah, I remember that now.
And I know there's not going to be any assembly this time either.
And she was struggling.
Now here's the thing. I've toughened up a little bit in these last couple of years, and I also did make it work last time. And I will say I did make it work. I still had a finished product by the end at the end of that Christmas 3 years ago.
Yeah, and Noah thinks she can make anything now.
He thinks I can make anything because I made that Godzilla, and that was a choice.
Yeah.
Anyway, luckily that was supportive of his parents that also helped me pay for all that material because the good Lord knows that was expensive. But here's the thing. This is one of those things where it's like I have a little bit more feeling of confidence in completing this craft, and I think that it's not just because I did it before, but because back then when I was doing that I had not really started my origami journey really. Right. I was just, and I don't want to say this, maybe I won't say it this way, but I was kind of just like in this headspace of, oh, I can make the gifts. Like it was like an epiphany. And then I got this rush of confidence in my ability to do it. And then I was like, if I could just find patterns that are free, I can really make this affordable for us because we had just moved. And it was 2020 and my son had just been born at the beginning of the year. And there was so much that had just happened. And there was so much unexpected occurrences that happened in 2020, not just the pandemic, but just what happened personally in our lives.
Yeah.
It was just so intense of change that there was this aspect of I want to make them something. I want to make them something. I want them to have a good Christmas. And all they end up getting from me was that Mario, that Bowser, and that hat.
And they were happy.
And they were very happy. And we hosted. We were able to offer that. We were able to make some like, I don't know, like puppy chow snack. And it wasn't like we did nothing, but it was one of those things where it's like that was a limited Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really needing my skill that I had just kind of started back up. Because it was kind of, I've had these periods in my life where, because I've been crafting for a very long time. I've been crafting since before I even was 10, I think, doing crocheting and knitting and such. 10, I might have been more like, knitting I might have been past 10, but I think crocheting I've been doing way before then.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I've been doing it for decades now. But there are seasons in my life where I set it down for various reasons, whether it be life or whether it just be interest or whether it be what I was just, my hyperfixation was on, or whether I was just reading more, or whether I was just in school more, whether I was working more, whether I was just, with everything that had happened that year, I was now living back with my parents because our house had gotten infested. and I couldn't let my kids live there, and there was so much happening. It was just so much craziness. And my mom had just happened to say, hey, I've been watching things on YouTube, and there are now the crafting channels, and I really want to knit some socks. And do you think you'd like to do this with me? And I was in a state where I would put the kids to bed. My dad had to work early, so me and my mom would just be up, and we'd have this little bit of time together. And
Just to interject one little thing. I had just had chest surgery too.
Yes.
Open chest surgery.
Yes, like
at the same time. At the same time, she needed a new place.
I felt so bad because I called my brother, frantic, being like, "We can't just abandon our home, our place to live, where we were living." Because we lived in a trailer park, and I was like, I can't just abandon this place. Like, we have to have a new place, but all of our stuff is here, even though it's infested, but I can't have the kids here. And I called my brother, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And all he said was, just call Mom. I don't think she's going to tell you no. And even his wife was like, I don't think she'll tell you no. So I call. Now, it was just like literally a week. It was literally just days. And I called, my mom was like,
I still couldn't move. I couldn't get myself off the couch at that point.
And I was sitting there being like, Mom, I am so sorry, but I don't know what else to do. Can you please help? And she said yes. And so it was one of those things where it's like a routine started, and I was able to aid my mom while my dad was gone, which ended up being a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
The kids end up getting into a routine of being able to see Papa when he came home, and that ended up being a blessing in disguise because grandparents started to pass. Mm-hmm. My dad's dad passed away. My husband's grandma passed. My mom's dad had just passed right before the surgery.
Yep.
Like, all these things were happening, and there was such a need to be close during so much mourning, that it just ended up being, like I said, a blessing in disguise. And so we started knitting together, and I had really had to put it down because I had all these littles. I just did. I remember crocheting when I had Olivia. She would be sleeping on me, and I would find ways of crocheting despite it, but when I had my son, it just was not very available because now I had two littles under two, making it work. It's all good, sort of thing. And then my mom was like, here you go. And I found such an outlet in being able to craft. It was like really relaxing. It was like this space to almost kind of be like in a meditative state because it was doing the same thing over and over again, but it was causing results to happen, and it was just very relaxing. You had to physically sit and be still and only have your hands work, and there was this aspect of I can be productive while still resting, that as a mom is very rewarding.
Yeah, it was good.
And it was just one of those things where it's like I can just sit.
And that's when I just said, Sarah, you want to start a YouTube channel.
And so this idea of crafting again, I've been doing this for years still, but it was one of those, like, it was reviving of a love, and it was like, I want to now do this with everything. And so I applied it to those gifts, and I think I had made some things, possibly like items, like 3D items, like the year before when I had with just Olivia, because when I was crafting when she was asleep, I was only doing small projects, but they were like kind of like little amigurumis. But then this was like, I'm making a person, and then it was like I wanted to do more, and it was like so addicting. And I made the Godzilla, and I made the Link, and I made the this, and I made the that, and I made the rooster, and I made the big car, and I made the this and the this and this and this and this and this and this. And now it's one of those things where it's like I know I'm much more confident here. Not because I know how to assemble this, because reality is that this is going to be at midnight. Everyone's asleep. Mommy's had her 5th drink of coffee, even though it's midnight, and she's just going to figure this out because everyone's asleep, and I'm
it's the only time alone.
But it's one of those, like, I'm also very excited because right now I'm in the state of I'm just making all the pieces. I'm having every single one of these little Ziplocs be head, shell, legs, arms, because everything is so many spikes. Like everything is going to be so many different pieces.
Yeah.
That by the time I sit back and I'm like, okay, I can just make the head. I'm just going to sit this down and I'm going to try to figure it out. I'm going to look at all these photos that she took because that's the only thing she did. And then it's just, here we go. And I'm honestly kind of excited about it. I really am. I'm excited for that point because
you have 3 more years of experience now.
I'm less stressed about how it's going to turn out because I already know that it will turn out, even if it takes a couple of tries. And I already know that my son is going to be excited no matter what. I told him I started, so now he's okay with me sitting down to work on things and not be playing with him because I'm making his Bowser.
Yeah.
And now he understands that when Mommy's making all these little pieces, even though he doesn't see what they're becoming.
Yeah, it's going to be
fun. So yeah, my hope is to make this. My hope is to be able to get a whole bunch of other characters done. But the reality is this is the main one. But I'm probably going to have to make at least 2 Princess Peaches because if I make one for Canyon, I have to make one for an Olivia. But I'm going to probably be making a different version of Princess Peach for Olivia because Olivia's going to be on a different scale than Canyon's. And things are just going to be, so it's going to be fun. And I'm really excited about it. But the last thing I want to say before we start wrapping up is one of the Christmas gifts I got that I haven't even shown my mom this is what James, my husband, got me. And this is called, I think it's called an Esslin. It is a loom in which, depending on how you cast on, it knits up to 60-inch wide fabrics, or depending on, like I said, how you cast on and how you want to use the space. But it can make Afghans, it can make, it can just, it's one of those looms that it's condensed. It's not one long one. It's also not just a bracket that's going in a circle. It's in a shape that allows for a little bit more packable space. But it's one of those items that I've seen in crafting stores where I'm like, will I ever use this? I don't know. But when it's now in my toolkit, because I was talking to my husband, I was like, I don't know if I would have ever bought this for myself. But now that it's in my toolkit, I know I will use it. It's not like it won't go to waste, but it's like, I don't know if I would have ever bought it for myself because if I were to knit a blanket of this scale, I don't know if I would want it on needles.
Right.
And I recognize that because I would be so scared that it would fall off the needle.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that with this.
Yeah.
And there's that security that this sort of a loom allows.
That's awesome.
But it's just one of those, like, I don't know. But now that I have it, I'm just kind of like, this might be in the future. So
yeah. How fun would that be?
But yeah, look at that, Mom.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. And he got me a book, too. Okie dokie.
Yep. So, instead of a scripture today, I was going through my book that I like to put scriptures and quotes and everything into, things that mean something to me at the time, and I found this one. And I have a necklace on today that I will explain in a little bit, but I put it on this morning. I'm just reading through these, and all of a sudden I find this quote that goes right along with my necklace, and I'm like, whoa, okay, we're gonna do this. So the quote says, "We are ourselves creations, and we, in turn, are meant to continue creativity by being creative." And that was said by Julia Cameron. We are ourselves creations, and we, in turn, are meant to continue creativity by being creative. I think all of us in this community would agree with that. We all like to be creative, and keep on with our creativity and like to be inspired by others and see what other people are doing. And I get so hyper excited about stuff like that. But my friend Jane, few years ago now, we were going to have a women's conference at our church, and we, I had gotten inspiration, and I went to our pastor's wife and I said, would you be willing to have me be one of the speakers? Here's what I'm thinking. And I showed her my ideas, and she was like, yeah, let's do this. Well, my friend Jane had come up with this little quote, and that's what I named my presentation. And what I put into this little necklace. Now, this necklace you can open it. You can put little charms into it. And what I found was that I took a little piece of scrapbook paper, and I wrote on here, created to create. And that's what Jane had said years ago, what I named my presentation for the women's conference. And what I think this quote is really saying, we are all created to create. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, if that hadn't been a clue, I mean, I put on this necklace just because I wanted to wear it today. And then I ended up just randomly finding this quote in this book. I think that that's no coincidence. We're all here to make ourselves available to the inspirations that are around us. And I just really love that we get to be creative, and that this is one of those times, during our video and stuff, that we get to be excited about being part of the creation process. But do you have anything more to say about that?
Well, so during one of my Christmas celebrations, it was here, one of my nephews from a couple of years ago, who I had made the Mario for, had come up to me, not even knowing that I was making a Mario, Luigi, and Toad for my son. And he came up and he's like, "And Sarah, do you remember when you made me the Mario? Is there any way that you can make me a Luigi?" Again, not knowing that at this point I had already made one. I was on it. I was like, "Yes, of course, sweetie, I can make you one. That's not a problem." I didn't even tell him yet because, my son was on my lap. I couldn't exactly explain, everything and in great detail. And he's over here just like, "Well, all you have to do is just, I already know you know how to make the Mario. You just have to make him in green, and I'm okay with, his features looking the same." I was like, "Buddy, I promise I will make you a Luigi, an actual Luigi. You don't have to have a green Mario, I promise." And he's just like, "Okay, thank you, Aunt Sarah," and he walks away. Well, his mom, the woman that married my brother, she gets my attention. She has ordered things for me before, and she's just like, "Well, thank you for that." And I was like, "No problem." And she's like, "So, I've been meaning to get a hold of you. I'm thinking about asking if you can make me a couple of things." And I'm just standing there being like, I don't know what it is about just realizing that, and I know it's an appreciation of a talent and a skill, but there's also just this aspect of knowing that you're making something that's going to make other people happy. Yeah. Specifically, it's not just about, "Oh, this is a nice little income thing," or "This is nice because I have a very specific set of skills that allow me to make gifts that I might not be able to find on the shelf." It's a matter of like, I like knowing that when I'm making things because it's going to make people happy.
Yeah. So fun.
What I make isn't going to come at the cost of anything else than making people actually smile or enjoy themselves or whatever. And I'm just like, that's such nice feeling.
Yeah.
And especially when I have nephews now that are just now like, Sarah, can you make me something? I was like, yes.
Aww.
Like I was like yes. It's the same sort of thrill of like my son or my kid. It's like, challenge accepted, dude. Like no problem, got it. Don't even worry about it. There's like, and there's this aspect of when you are a very creative person, there is a feeling in your bones about creating things, no matter what the inspiration is, no matter what it is, or the compulsion, because not every piece of art is meant to be beautiful. Sometimes it's meant to be tragic or a visual representation of thoughts or feelings or whatever. And creativity can sometimes not be physical, but a sound. It can be visual. It can be so many different things. It can be dancing. It can be all these different ways of being creative. And food. I just find there to be this aspect of creating that when you find your niche in it, because I feel like everyone does actually have something that they can actually do if they give themselves over to it. Not everyone is gifted to always draw. Not everyone has a natural talent to go towards one specific thing. But the one thing I will say is that when you give yourself over to create, you'll find what it is that either inspires you, even if you're not good at it. Just enjoy the fact that you want to do it or that you like it.
Right.
It's okay. Like, I remember a character in the old MASH show. I can't remember his name. He was a surgeon that came on later on, but it's a old medic show, war show about surgeons that are on the front lines that have to make very quick repairs on people that get flown in from the front lines. And you're in this position where this guy makes a very blunt and ended decision that even though he knows he's capable of repairing the limb, he ends up amputating this particular soldier's hand. Oh, yeah. And in the episode later on, you end up learning that the soldier had been drafted not by choice, and he was actually a musician and a pianist. And the surgeon was an avid lover of classical music, and so he was absolutely devastated that he didn't take the delicate time to repair the hand that he had actually amputated, because they were being inundated with so many different people that he felt that he had to make a choice to
between the leg and the hand.
Yeah.
And he wanted the guy to walk.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where it was like he was just trying. It's hard when you're in a position where you're kind of having to play God. That can't be easy, especially when you're on the front lines and you don't just have time to do both. Or, hey, can you stabilize this limb while I'm working on this one? Or can there be two surgeons to get it done at the same time? There wasn't that option. Is there enough blood to kind of help this guy while he's trying not to bleed him out and all that stuff? It's hard. The situation was not exactly easy, and the show really represents that. But I remember him explaining, I have a love for music. But when I play it, I can't get the emotion out in the music. Like, I can play the piano, but I am not a piano player.
Right.
I can't do it because despite the fact of how much I love music, I'm not a musician.
Right.
No matter how many instruments I can play, I can't make them sing. And there was this aspect of just because you love something, sometimes you can't make it vibrant. And there is this aspect of, but that doesn't mean that you can't be a tool in it still existing. And in this episode, the closure that these characters end up having was that because of how much knowledge this surgeon had in the music, because he was a fanboy in it, he found a very specific composer that only ever did piano in one-handed compositions because he was one-handed or in some way disabled where he only could play one-handed.
Yeah.
And he was able to get his hands on some sheet music, and he put it in front of the soldier and asked him to play.
Yeah.
And the surgeon started to cry because he's like, you can make it sing.
And he did.
And he did. And it helped that soldier find, again, that he didn't have to give up a passion because he had to give up part of himself to the war. And it was one of those things where sometimes when we're creating, we don't always know what the long-term decisions are. Obviously, this is a very intense, dramatic, traumatizing moment that I'm bringing up, but there's this aspect of you might love a form of art, but you might not feel like you can make it sing.
Yeah.
But you can still be a part of it being alive and nourish it. And those that have the gift, kind of like my nephew who's naturally gifted in drawing. I might not have that talent, but I can give him the stuff and I can appreciate everything that he is able to produce. Same with like this, where it's like people that are like, we love what you're able to do. So can you, if we give you stuff, will you make stuff for us that we're able to take home because we love what you're able to do? There's this aspect of give and take that people who appreciate creativity and people who can create have this very interesting symbiotic relationship that can continue to nourish and thrive. And I appreciate that harmony.
And if we can appreciate and encourage those who can, then they'll keep doing it.
Yeah, it's like when you know someone who's really good at writing or someone who's really good at this. Sometimes it's just like a prompt book. Here's some prompting ideas of, you might feel like you're stuck on your story. So do a 5-minute exercise of whatever this writing prompt is and just finish the page.
Right.
Do that today. You might have not written in your story, but you were able to do that.
Right.
You were able to exercise that skill. And it might have gotten you out of your slump because you were able to think about a story in a different way.
Yeah.
There's all these different things that you can do to either be the encourager or be the one that is receiving encouragement, because we're not always able to sometimes see outside the box when we feel that we're the box.
Right.
And I don't know, or when we feel boxed in. And I don't know. And sometimes as a creator, it's always okay to take a break. Yeah. Enjoy the other things that you like, even if that means enjoying what other people create.
Right.
Sometimes taking a rest and being like, I'm going to go to the art museum, or I'm going to go to the library, or I'm going to go do something else where I can appreciate other people's work for a second, because I have to fill up my tank.
Yes.
And take a break, because
I was just gonna say that too.
Because there's an aspect of even last night, my hands were hurting.
I bet.
Because I've been going nonstop.
Right.
And there's a sense of tension that is required when you're making certain shapes and your hands are in a much more tighter positions when you're not just doing 2D shapes of blankets. And my daughter has this rock painting set that she got from someone during our Christmas. I wasn't able to see everyone giving their gifts, but she painted some rocks and they dried, and she was showing them to me and my husband, and I was like, James, give me one of her rocks. And I was just slamming the rock inside my palms to try to get the knots out of my hands. And I was just trying to get them to relax. And I was just like, oh my God, thank you. And I was just so grateful for the relief that my hands were able to get from that. And I don't know. There's things where it's like sometimes you have to listen to yourself. It's time to rest.
Right.
It's time to appreciate other things that you like seeing other people's finished work of.
Yeah.
Books are a very good purpose of that. Even watching TV shows where it's done so well, or it holds such nostalgia or something that you really appreciate. I don't know. Sometimes it's just those things where it's like, yes. Even just scrolling on Pinterest for 2 hours. Don't ask if you haven't done it.
I have a tip.
I
was going over to my friend Jane's for a little Christmas get-together party, and I wanted to bring my crocheted blanket, my mandala here, and I did not want to ruin it with the scissors. So I went and I looked in my room, and I found a little solution. And I wanted to share this with you because it works. I'm so excited. Okay, if you have a little gift card holder, and this one happens to be metal,
Yeah,
and
10.
look how thin it is.
Yeah.
It's very, very thin, but it's just a gift card holder. You can put your scissors in there, and they fit.
Yeah, what are those called? Like, are they quail scissors or what?
So, whatever these bird scissors are. But it would fit yours too.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
my scissors are collapsible scissors.
Yeah.
And they would fit in there too. These are the ones that fold in on themselves.
So I found that just putting the scissors in there and closing them in will save your work from getting ruined in the project bag.
Okay, yeah.
And
Clever.
so I just wanted to share that with you. That idea came to me just this week, and I was so grateful for it.
Yes.
And I
remember when
wanted
you
to make sure you guys knew about it.
Yes.
So if you've got any gift cards that you just got for Christmas, and maybe you have one of these tins or something to hold it in, start using them for different purposes. Think outside the box.
Yeah. If I were to say any of my ideas for like outside the box ideas, if you're doing big amigurumi projects, I would invest in long upholstery needles, because when you have long projects where they're big and they're big stuffy pillowy projects, but you need to be able to do sewing and like whether it's limbs on either side of this big thing, getting upholstery needles in replacement of just small darning hooks that could get lost inside the stuffing can be a lifesaver.
Wow.
For
Look at that
getting
thing.
to get it across to the other side.
Yeah.
It's
got a holder.
Yeah. And this might not seem like this might seem straightforward, but also on the aspect of doing our groomy stuff, I have a metal magnetized bracelet. So it's supposed to be kind of like a pin cushion, but it's magnetized. So I always have it on my arm, and I have it always on this side of my wrist, not necessarily like a watch, but on the side, because that way I'm able to properly grab things and put it on quickly with where my hands are angled when I'm crocheting.
Yeah.
I will say this is a lifesaver because for several reasons. Magnets hold differently when it comes to pin cushions, and when you're working with a lot of different things like needles and darning needles and things like that, they will hold there too. And if you end up, when I'm working with metal, so like a metal that I used to craft with to be able to make the spines in some of my my work, I've had little shavings chip off, and you might even see it, one of these little metal shaving pieces. I couldn't find it, and so I ran it across the floor, that wherever I'd seen it go, and I was able to find it because I have a magnet always with me to always pick up all those small little pieces of metal that I'm working with inside
There's
of my
a good
crafting.
tip too.
So this thing, despite how the fact that it's obviously for crafters and obviously for sewing people, this works for yarn crafters if you're pinning and doing things and placing things, or even trying to plan out where you want to place something on another material.
Right.
This thing is a lifesaver. So just a couple of crafts.
With that, we are going to close out this video, which is very long today. Sorry about that.
It's long. We're ending the end of 2023 on a good note.
Yeah.
We are excited for how we're going to start 2024. And you know what? I think next week we're going to do some sort of recap of what 2023 was for us, and maybe some of the things what we were able to accomplish in 2023, what we would like to see it be accomplished in 2024, and we hope to be able to have that conversation with you guys, for anyone who would like to possibly do that with us.
Yeah.
For anyone who's actually made it to the end of this video with us, thank you. We appreciate you, and we honestly hope that you have a great New Year's. We hope that you've had a great holiday season. We celebrated Christmas, but for anyone who's celebrated anything else, we hope that you had a great holiday season. Yeah. As always, until next time, we hope that you stitch your way
to mental health.